Hi everyone, it's time for us to move on to our next part of the writing process, and that is to focus on analysis. So today's Writing Academy will focus on analysis. So far we've been learning how effective writers provide well-constructed evidence sentences to back up their argument or claim. Additionally, a good argumentative essay also includes analysis of the evidence provided. So usually when you go and you read an argumentative essay or you go to write an argumentative essay, you will notice the following: that writers usually follow a predictable pattern to lead the reader through their thought process in their essay. And here's what the pattern usually includes. Usually they make a claim, then they provide evidence, and then they analyze that evidence to explain their thinking. So we really haven't focused much on writing claims yet, but we will soon. We have provided for the last couple of weeks work on writing good, effective evidence sentences. What we still have to work on is how to pick the right kind of evidence to use for whatever claim that we are going to write about. But today we're going to just talk about analysis and what is included when you need to analyze why your evidence supports your claim. So let's do a quick review of an evidence sentence. As you know, an evidence sentence includes the following parts: a transition, a contextual lead-in, text evidence, and that's always in quotation marks, and then a citation. In this case, since it's literature, we would do the author's last name and page number, and then we always end with a period. Okay, so now we'll move on to analysis. As a general rule, writers should provide at least 2 sentences of analysis. We're going to refer to those sentences of analysis as A1 and A2. Basically for analysis 1 and analysis 2. So let's talk about what those 2 sentences of analysis usually will include. So after you have made a claim and provided evidence, then you would give at least 2 sentences of analysis. So the first analysis generally explains the action of the text evidence by making an inference. So it explains the action in the text evidence by making an inference. Last class we talked about what inference was and what it looked like to make an inference, and if you'd like to review that, you can actually click here and access the lesson from our last class where we looked at some photos and then we also made some inferences based on text. But to recap and review what an inference is, let's go through the definition. Inference goes beyond the text to look for clues or hints to give deeper meanings, or in other words, read between the lines. So when we have a piece of evidence or a piece of text to read, someone who's making an inference will investigate, they have a need to know more and to find out what the author is really trying to say. They expand on the evidence and they reveal the true meanings. What that looks like, if we were to think of it like a formula, is that any good reader and then writer will take their schema, their background knowledge and experiences, and combine that with clues from the text, what the author tells us, in order to make those inferences. So you are doing all of what's in this yellow box, but you're doing it in a microsecond or in a couple of minutes. It doesn't take long to make an inference. You've been making inferences since you were a child. But when you have to apply it to text, it becomes a little bit more formal. So you look at whatever text evidence is happening and you explain that action in the text evidence and make an inference about it. Help us to understand what it means based upon your schema and other clues from the text. So that's A1 or analysis 1. Now moving on to A2, the second analysis generally explains how the text evidence supports the writer's claim and also provides your opinion on the topic or text evidence. So we'll type that in now. It explains, A2 explains how the text evidence supports the writer's claim, and it also provides your opinion on the topic or the text evidence. So what you basically are doing is you're looking at how this text evidence actually supports whatever claim it is that you have come up with. So you explain how that text evidence supports the claim and provide your opinion on that text evidence or topic. Okay? So there are two parts. Analysis 1 explains the action in the text evidence by making an inference, and analysis 2 generally explains how the text evidence supports the writer's claim and provides your opinion on the topic or text evidence. Now, there's a couple things that you need to know whenever you're writing an analysis. The first one is the same rule that applies to evidence sentences. It also applies to analysis. And that is that when you are writing your evidence sentences and analysis about literature, you need to use literary present tense. Okay, so same rule applies here when you're writing your analysis. Another thing to consider is that you really should avoid the use of personal pronouns when you're writing analysis for a formal essay. A personal pronoun will include I, me, my, our, us, we. Those are all different forms of personal pronouns. The main reason that you do that is that you kind of take away a little bit of your power when you make it only about your opinion. And instead what you want to do is you want to make your writing more formal. And by making it more formal, you sound more like an authority on the subject that you're talking about. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to use words like the reader believes that, the reader thinks, or one might think, or people in general believe. And that makes it more general and relatable for your audience. So when you can, avoid the use of personal pronouns when writing analysis in a formal argumentative essay. There are times when it is appropriate and necessary, especially when you get into argumentative writing in AP language, but it is not something that you will need to do in one of the essays for this class. Now, you might have had other teachers who have said that that was okay when you were in junior high, but we're going to practice the avoiding the use of I, me, my, our, us, we, or other personal pronouns when you're writing analysis, just to see what that feels like and what it sounds like. So that will be something that we practice. That's all for this particular part of the lesson. We're going to move on to a second part of the lesson in the next video.